Close your eyes. Imagine a wind that carries voices. Not the wind of today, not the breeze that rustles leaves or cools your skin. No, this wind is older. It breathes from a time before clocks, before maps, before history remembered its own name. It blows across a barren plain, where nothing grows. No trees. No birds. Not even weeds push through the cracked earth. The sky here is always gray, even at noon. And if you stand still, very still, you might hear it. A whisper. Just one word, carried on the air like ash, come. This is the land of the forgotten. And beneath your feet, buried under centuries of silence, lies a city that should not exist. A city that vanished. Not destroyed. Not ruined. Not remembered. Gone. No war. No fire. No invasion. One day, it was alive. The next, it was erased. And now, after 3,000 years, it's calling back. The last sunset long ago, in a valley no modern map can find, there stood a city of golden stone. Its name? Lost. Its people? Forgotten. But the legends, the true legends, the ones told in hushed tones by desert nomads and ancient hermits, say it was called El Karim the Beloved. El Karim was not just a city. It was a miracle. 7 great gates opened to the 7 winds. Its towers pierced the clouds, wrapped in ivy that bloomed with silver flowers. The streets were paved with black stone that reflected the stars at night, so the people could walk under 2 skies, one above, one below. The marketplace never slept. Merchants from lands with no name sold spices that made you see visions, mirrors that showed your future, and scrolls written in a language that moved when you looked away. At the heart of it all stood the temple of the silent god, a towering pyramid with no doors, only a single window at the very top. No one ever entered. But every night, a soft blue light would glow from within. And on the night of the new moon, the people would gather in silence, because that was when the whispers began. They said the god inside didn't speak. It remembered. And on that night, it would whisper the names of everyone who had ever lived in the city, past, present, and future. Children would giggle when they heard their names. Elders would weep. And sometimes, someone would hear a name they didn't recognize. A name of someone who hadn't been born yet. But that was normal in El Karim. Because time didn't work the same way there. The night the city died, it happened on the eve of the great festival. The streets were lit with lanterns shaped like birds. Musicians played flutes made from human bone, not out of cruelty, but respect. They believed the dead could still sing through their bones. The king, a man with eyes like polished obsidian, stood on the palace balcony, watching his people dance. He smiled. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Then the sky turned black. Not with clouds. With absence. The stars vanished. The moon blinked out. Even the lanterns dimmed, as if afraid. And then, the ground opened. Not an earthquake. Not a crack. But a tear like the earth had been cut with a blade from another world. From within that tear, a sound rose. Low at first. Like a cello played underwater. Then louder. A chorus of whispers, thousands of voices, speaking at once, in a language that hurt the ears and burned the mind. The people fell to their knees. Some covered their ears. Others began to scream, but no sound came out. The king looked toward the temple of the silent god. And he saw it. The window at the top was now open. And from it, a single figure stepped out into the air. It had no face. Only a smooth, pale mask of stone. It floated down, not walking, not falling, just descending. And as it touched the ground, the whispers stopped. Silence. Then, one word, spoken by the faceless thing, remember. And just like that, every person in the city began to remember. Not their lives. But their deaths. Visions flooded their minds of fire, of falling, of drowning, of being buried alive. Of screaming in darkness. Of calling for help that never came. They saw themselves already dead. And in that moment of horror, the city began to fade. Brick by brick. Person by person. Light by light. Like a dream unraveling. The king reached for his queen, but his hand passed through her like smoke. She looked at him, tears in her eyes, whispering, "I don't want to go." And then she was gone. By dawn? Nothing. No ruins. No bones. No blood. Just a flat, empty valley. As if the city had never existed. The first explorer in 1923, a British archaeologist named Dr. Elias Crane, claimed he found it. He'd been tracking a tribe of Bedouins who spoke of the city that eats men. They refused to go near a certain valley, saying the sand swallows footsteps. Crane, a rational man, laughed. He brought a team, tents, cameras, and enough supplies for 6 weeks. They found something. Not a city. But footprints. Fresh footprints in the middle of a desert where no one had walked for decades. They followed them. And the footprints led in circles. Every path they took brought them back to the same rock, a black stone shaped like a door. On the third day, one of the men, a young assistant named Peter, vanished. No scream. No struggle. One moment he was boiling tea. The next gone. Only his cup remained, still steaming. That night, Crane woke to the sound of music. Flutes. The same melody described in ancient texts. He stepped outside. And saw it. A city. Lit by golden lanterns. People in ancient robes walked the streets, laughing, dancing. And in the distance the temple of the silent god, glowing blue. Crane ran toward it. But the closer he got, the farther it seemed. Then a hand touched his shoulder. He turned. A child stood there. No older than 8. Dressed in rags. But her eyes, they were old. She whispered, "You're not supposed to be here. They're not ready for you yet." Crane stumbled back. When he looked again, the city was gone. Only sand. Only silence. He fled. But not before taking one photo. When developed, it showed nothing but desert. Except, in the corner, a faint outline. A tower. And in the sky above it, 7 stars arranged in a perfect circle. Crane never returned. He spent the rest of his life in an asylum, muttering one phrase, "They're still remembering." The expedition that never came back in 1987, a team of 6 researchers, 3 archaeologists, 2 linguists, and a psychic entered the valley. They called it Project Kareem. They brought thermal scanners, drones, and recording equipment. They set up camp on the exact spot where Crane had been. That night, their cameras captured something. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the temperature dropped 40 degrees in seconds. Then voices. Not from outside. From inside the recording devices. Whispers, layered over each other, speaking in a dead language. One linguist, Dr. Lena Reyes, managed to translate a few words: "The gate is open, the watchers are awake, the city remembers." Then the sound of children laughing. But no children were there. The next morning, 2 members were missing. No footprints. No signs of struggle. Just their tents perfectly intact. That night, the remaining 4 heard knocking. Not on the tent. From underground. Like something was trying to get out. One of them, the psychic, Marcus, began to scream. He clawed at his ears, shouting, "They're saying my name. They know me. I wasn't born yet, but they know me." Then he ran into the desert. They found him hours later. Sitting in the sand. Staring at the sky. His eyes, completely white. He never spoke again. The other 3 packed up and left. But on the way out their car stopped. No engine failure. Just silence. And in the rearview mirror? A city. Lit up. Alive. And in the streets? Hundreds of people, all looking at the car. One of them raised a hand. Not in greeting. In warning. The driver floored it. They made it out. But when they reviewed the dashcam footage, nothing. Just empty desert. Until the very last frame. A single word, scratched into the lens, "Come." The man who returned in 2019, a man named Daniel Reyes, grandson of Dr. Lena, went back. He'd spent years studying her journals. He believed the city wasn't destroyed. It was trapped. Between worlds. Between time. He believed that every 100 years, the veil thins. And the city returns for one night. He went alone. No team. No cameras. Just a backpack, a flashlight, and his grandmother's journal. He waited. On the night of the new moon. At exactly 2:13 a.m. The wind stopped. The stars blinked out. And then the city appeared. Not as ruins, but alive. The same lanterns. The same music. The same people. Daniel walked the streets. No one looked at him. They passed through him. He reached the temple of the silent God. The door still open. He climbed 7 levels. Each one colder than the last. At the top, the room was empty. But in the center a mirror. Not glass. Stone. And in it, he saw not his reflection, but the city burning. People screaming. The faceless God whispering. And then a voice. Not from the mirror. From behind him. A child's voice. You're early. Daniel turned. The same girl from Crane's story? Same rags. Same ancient eyes. She said, the city doesn't vanish. It remembers. And when it remembers everyone who ever lived here, it wakes up. But it can't stay. Not until all the names are spoken. Daniel whispered, why me? She smiled. Because your name was in the list. You were always coming. You were always, part of the memory. Then she pointed to the mirror. Look again. And in the reflection, Daniel saw himself. But older. Standing in the same spot. With the same child. Saying the same words. Over and over. A loop. A cycle. And then the city began to fade. The lights dimmed. The music stopped. The girl reached for his hand. Next time, you'll stay. And Daniel woke up. Back in the desert. Dawn breaking. No city. No temple. Just sand. And in his hand? His grandmother's journal. But the last page had new writing. In his handwriting. Words he didn't remember writing. I came. I saw. I remembered. The city is waiting. It knows my name. It will call again. And next time, I won't run. The truth no one wants to hear. The forgotten city didn't vanish. It's still there. Trapped in a moment between life and death. Every century, it returns for a few hours to remember the ones who lived there. And it's not just searching for its own. It's searching for new names. Because the list is never complete. It needs witnesses. It needs rememberers. And it calls to those who are close to the veil. Dreamers. Sensitives. The lost. The lonely. If you've ever stood in an empty place and felt watched. If you've ever heard a whisper when no one was there. If you've ever dreamed of a city with golden gates and singing streets. It's already chosen you. Because the city doesn't just remember the past. It predicts the future. It knows who will come. And when. And why. Final warning: there's a valley. No name on any map. But if you go there on the night of the new moon. And if you listen. You might hear the flutes. You might see the lights. You might feel a hand touch your shoulder. And if you turn. You might see a child with ancient eyes. And she will say, you're not supposed to be here. But, you will be. Don't go looking for the forgotten city. Because if you find it, it may never let you leave. And one day, someone will tell a story about you. About the explorer who vanished. About the voice on the recording. About the name whispered in the dark. And they'll say, they went to the forgotten city. And the city remembered them.